Hey everyone, it's Brandon Stewart here, and this is the Collecting Vintage Unopened podcast. This is a podcast devoted to discussing anything and everything in regards to the collecting of vintage, unopened sports and non-sports cards. And this evening, I have a very special guest, Jason Sanchez, who has a website that is thepackguy.com. Jason, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
And thanks for having me on, Brandon. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So I thought we could start with the standard question that I start with a lot of interviews, which is a little bit of your background in the hobby and how you got into collecting and chasing down unopened material.
So I guess like a lot of the stories go, I started off as a kid. My first pack was, I still remember an 86 Tops cello pack that I got at I don't even remember, a drugstore. They used to call them stationery stores years ago, where they sold just all kinds of different stuff. And I was there buying probably something else, and they were on the counter, and I said, let me just try this thing out. So I picked up a pack, and I think, yeah, if I remember correctly, they were probably 35-40 cents. And that's what started off, just that first cello pack, and I just wanted more, of course. And I collected during the boom time, the mid to late 80s, early 90s. At that point, I kind of got out of it when everybody else was kind of getting out of it too. It was getting a little ridiculous in the early 90s there. But that's kind of the beginning of it, really, as a kid. And that's how my collecting started. And I guess another side thing is I was not an open guy, like everybody else. I opened the packs and then saved the cards and traded and whatever and bought and sold. But I was actually an unopened sheet guy as a kid, and for some reason, I don't know why, I liked uncut sheets. So I was really into the uncut sheets, and I would put little ads in SCD and trade back and forth, buy and sell. So that's kind of my first niche that I was in years ago.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and it does seem like that is a fairly common area of overlap with unopened guys. That I think when I interviewed Brent Meyer, he's a big unopened or big sheet guy. So I guess that maybe it's just. I mean, it is kind of.
I don't know why.
No,
well, I think it's almost the aspect of it being something that was saved that shouldn't save. It's a production sheet, for example. So, they were really not supposed to probably leave the factory. So it's a little different twist, but they were supposed to be cut up into cards and never be in a full uncut sheet form usually. And same thing with the unopened stuff. Who was supposed to save these packs? Nobody really. We were supposed to open them and have fun, and guys just kept saving them over the years, and now we have us to chase after them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, to me, that's the whole allure of it, is the fact that these things are still around. It's such an amazing thing when you think about it.
Yeah, especially, in my opinion, the 50s and 60s stuff, because that's before the boom times hit. That's before collecting was really big. Kids were always into cards. And, I guess back then, maybe I wasn't around, but less adults were into cards. There was less, definitely nobody really investing in cards as far as I know. And so that stuff's really amazing that it survived, because, a 1950s pack, a little kid should have torn it up and that was it, and it's gone, and it's amazing when you still see those packs around. I really love to come across that stuff, but it's pretty rare.
Oh yeah, no, well, yeah, and some of the auction houses, when they have these catalogs and you just see these 54 tops wax packs and 53 top, just stuff that's just drool
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, and
it really is amazing to see that stuff still pop up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And so when you were first getting into collecting, was it mostly baseball, or did you have a focus or a favorite player?
Well, I grew up in New Jersey, so that was a time when Mattingly and Strawberry were hot. The Mets and Yankees. The Yankees weren't really a good team back then. It was just all about Mattingly. But the Mets were, 86 Mets, and late 80s with Strawberry, Gooden, Hernandez, Carter. They were a big deal, especially in New York, and just in general. So that's kind of how it started with the baseball. And as cards got more popular, I started getting into basketball and football. The one thing I never really got into was hockey, but the basketball and football, I remember buying a ton of 90-91 Fleer basketball, and just going through boxes and boxes and boxes of that stuff, and going for the star cards. And then it was so easy to make sets out of that. We would buy a box and make 3 sets out of a box and resell the sets. But football, I wish I got the football earlier, but nobody cared as much. None of my friends were into football cards until maybe 90-91, I think, was when it really picked up. So
Sure.
it's just the the same thing as the junk wax era, where nobody cared until everybody cared.
Sure, sure. Well, and I've seen on your website, you've got some really nice 50s unopened football, right?
Yeah,
And you
I did pick up a few packs of the oh, what is it, 50? I think it was 57 wax. And I've had a few 50s baseball cellos that have gone on the website, and they don't last. I mean, there's always someone who wants to grab that. And
sure,
those are the kind of packs that I put up there. And if they sell, they sell. If they don't, they don't. I have no problem with them just sitting, because I know they're just gonna get more and more rare. But yeah, they're tough to find. Every once in a while, they pop up.
sure. And how many years have you been running your website, the Pack Guy?
The website, about 2 years now. I left a big gap out of my story, of the unopened stuff. I was been years now, so I'll go back a few steps.
Sure.
Basically, I stopped as a kid in the early '90s, and then I said, let me check this thing out. And the internet was so new at the time, and especially eBay, we had no idea what was going on. And I just went on there and said, I've heard about this eBay thing. Let me check it out. And I said I could do this. I had my old cards, I had my old collection still, and I just wanted to get rid of it, to be honest, because at that time, card shows were dead. There were very few shops. So I kind of said, hey, this eBay thing, I'll try it. I'll sell whatever's remaining on my old collection. It was just cards and sets, not really anything unopened. And I started putting on eBay, and it was selling, and it was fun. People sent money in the mail, and back then, some people don't know this or remember, some people would actually throw cash in the mail, or the best was a money order, because it was just like cash, and checks, of course, but 2 weeks to clear. And
Mhm.
so we had a great time with eBay back then, and you could just sell stuff on eBay, and it was fun. And that's actually what led me back into unopened, because then, as I was selling on eBay, I was also looking for stuff on eBay and getting just kind of into it again, and saying, wow, this stuff's still out there. I had no idea, because, like I said, once the card shows were kind of gone, and the shops, there was really nowhere to, I shouldn't say nowhere, but there was very limited places to buy. Opened up again. And that's kind of how I got back into the unopened stuff. I started actually buying it on eBay, and that was way back then. And so I got rid of all my old collection and started replacing a little bit with unopened stuff. And then I got the bug again, and I said, hey, I could kind of buy and sell this stuff and make a few bucks and buy more on eBay. And that's what I kind of just started. So basically, I was buying unopened stuff on eBay and then reselling it. And then I don't want to make this too long-winded, but basically, I was starting to look for inventory again. And back then, it was old school, so I got creative and started putting ads in the local papers, and saying buying collections, buying cards. And that's how I actually started coming across more and more unopened product, because it was out there. And as I was buying collections, I put in the ad in the paper that I was also buying boxes and cases, and figured if it comes up, it comes up. And it was popping up. So the ads worked. And on the weekends, I would just go driving around and view collections. And I got more into unopened back then, and buying and selling and that kind of thing.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, no, well, you got in when things were before things really took off, which is nice, because I mean, now it's the entry cost, especially if you want some of that really vintage stuff that you were talking about earlier. It's not a cheap addiction or hobby, I should say. It's it is very
And you know what? I was actually, when I was doing those ads in the paper, I was finding, honestly, a lot of junk wax. It was even back then, it was the same stuff. A lot of late '80s, 88, 89 tops was always popping up. 90 Upper Deck, 90 Donruss. I mean, I still remember a lot of that junk. It was pretty rare even back then to find even just early '80s and late and older.
Mhm.
So it was a lot of the junk stuff out there, a lot of early '90s stuff. But that back then, I was buying and selling the junk wax, and before I got smart to saying, hey, let me get out of this stuff, because it's basically heavy and not worth anything. And it was a pain in the butt to ship it. But that's how it kind of started, with the unopened buying and selling back then, actually.
Sure. Well, what's amazing now is even some of the stuff that we view as junk wax, there's still a very strong market for it. It seems like 87 Tops baseball has a huge following. I don't know if you.
That's true, and that's another one. When I was searching for collections, I was finding a lot of that too. That's right. I forgot about 87 Tops is popping up a lot, especially I don't know why rack cases would always pop up. I remember that one.
Hmm.
But that was very, back then, when I was doing the junk wax, that was really junk.
Sure, sure. So what is like a crazy story that you have, or a fun story about when you were looking for all these unopened cases and whatnot on the weekends? Like,
Well, since you started the question with that, I'll give you my crazy story.
sure, sure,
I back then I was gonna tell this one a little later, but I'll start with the crazy story. So
sure.
I was I'm doing card shows here and there back then too, just to kind of get out there and see if I could meet people and obviously buy stuff and resell a little bit. And this guy I was starting to see at all the card shows. He was one of those regulars who would come to this show that I went to every once in a while. That I would set up. I had a table, and one time he comes to my table and says, "Hey, I got a big deal for you." And I said, "Okay, and I've heard that story before." So I said, "What is it?" And he actually gave me a handwritten list of all these boxes, and it was decent. It was again the same stuff. Mid to late 80s, maybe early 90s, but there was some okay stuff mixed in. And at the time, I forget. I think it was it tallied up maybe a $6,000 deal, I want to say. And this guy, it was a lot of junk stuff. So the guy said, I couldn't visualize it because I just have a basically handwritten list. And he said, "Bring a truck, bring a big truck." And I said, "Okay, I'll bring a truck." So I go and I get a panel truck. I don't know how to explain it. Like must have been a 24-footer. We'll say something like that. It was definitely bigger than a van. It was a truck, biggest truck I've driven,
Mhm.
and it was overkill, to be honest, because when we loaded it, it barely filled the floor. But that's besides the point. So I'm at this point, I lived in Chicago, and I was in Chicago for many years. I'm in Chicago, and I'm in the middle of the city. That's where I live, and it's a very busy area. And I go to the Ryder truck rental, get the truck, and you want the extra insurance, all that, of course. Yes, I was smart. And I kid you not, I got that truck about 4 blocks and I made it turn too tight and I scraped the side of a car. And I'll never forget because it's like I didn't even get 4 blocks away from the truck rental place. And so I'm like, "Oh no, here goes this deal. I'm not going to be able to do the deal." So I call the truck rental and they say, "Hey, you know what? You got the extra insurance. You're okay." I had to leave something on the windshield of the car, and I was on my way. And I said, "Wow, I'm glad I got that extra insurance for whatever it costed." And that was my one of my crazier stories because it was like my first big deal that I was doing where I got the big truck and everything, and it didn't go so well right from the start. But anyway, I did get the deal, and I loaded up, and it was enough to fill the bottom of the truck. I didn't need a truck. I could have used a van, but the guy was hyping up the deal a little bit and said, "Get a big truck." So that
That's
was one of the more ridiculous stories.
that's funny. Well, no, you got the insurance, and I've never gotten the insurance whenever I've rented. So maybe I should rethink that because, yeah, no, that's
Yes,
pretty cool.
definitely.
And so,
Let's see what else I have for you. There's another
sure.
one. Not crazy, but a fun one and a good one.
Mhm.
I was selling on eBay back then, way back, and eBay, like I said, was a little easier to deal with back then. And some guy messaged me through eBay, and it was allowed back then. I think they actually gave you email addresses, and this guy, sent me a message saying, "Hey, I see you're dealing this unopened stuff in packs and boxes. I have a bunch of this stuff." And I said, "Okay, what do you have?" And he told me something ridiculous, like 1,081 Tops baseball grocery rack packs. And I said, "Okay." And we worked out a deal, and I could still remember back then, and I was paying him $2 a piece, and I was turning them over on eBay for $3. It doesn't sound like a lot, but I wasn't selling one pack at a time. I was selling in bulk lots. I think is what I was doing. And the guy would send me a box of 200 racks every few weeks, another box. And I kid you not, after counting up all the boxes, I think he sent me like no kidding, almost 2,000 packs. I don't know where he got these. He said they were end of the year closeout that he bought from some wholesale place, and he sent me over time probably about 2,081 Tops grocery racks. And I said, if this one guy has this many, how many are out there?
Yeah, no kidding. Wow, that's crazy.
And he contacted me actually years later. I want to say 5 or 6 years ago. So say 15 years later or something like that. and said, "Hey, do you still buy and sell cards?" And I said, "Yeah, I still do it. You know, I'm not on eBay like I was, and I'm not doing it that way anymore, but I'll still take a look." And he said, "Hey, I got some 82 tops rack packs." And I said, "Thousands?" And he said, "No, but a decent amount." And he came through with about a few big boxes, and it was like 482 tops rack packs, and they were unsearched. I went through, and all the stars were still in there. It was a huge load, and he had some other stuff, 81 tops vending case, and a few other things. And I know the same guy is still holding on to I think a 79, 80, or 80, 81. I think it's Gretzky rookie year wax box, and the early what is it, 80, 81 with the Magic Johnson rookie, the Johnson rookie. And he bought this stuff back in 81. We just put it away, figuring it'll be worth something someday. And I'm still waiting for that call to get the good stuff, the good boxes. He keeps holding on to those. But anyway, yeah, thousands of rack packs. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and I wonder that sometimes too, because it seems like with some years, there's just so much of it still left. It's like, are they still producing 1979 tops rack packs somewhere? I mean, I would love to see how many.
Larry Fritch.
Yeah, that's what I would love to see how many how many 79 racks Fritch has in their warehouse. I mean, it's probably in it. Maybe
well,
not.
Of course.
Oh, go ahead.
That'll lead me to another story then, because I have all these crazy stories from doing this for so many years. I remember Fritch had those racks in this catalog years ago, whatever it was, say, I don't know, 2003, 2004, 2005, whatever year it was. And they had them listed in the catalog. I said, well, that's a pretty good price. At the time it was a good price, not looking back. I'm just saying for the time it was a pretty good price. And I said, wow, that's not bad. And I ordered I think I ordered 6 boxes or something like that, or 2 cases, whatever it was, figuring, great, I'll grab these at a good price. And of course, they played the game with me, and they still do this probably to this day, I'm sure, where they said, "Sorry, only 2 boxes available, out of stock." And you go on their website, and they still have them available to this day. So they used to always play that game where they limit what you can buy. So that's been going on for years.
Interesting. Yeah, because I wonder that too with baseball card exchange, because it seems like they'll run out of 89 Fleer, and then the very next day they'll have a brand new. Their quantity will drastically go up or whatever. So that's probably just, I guess that's standard practice. But yeah, Fritch.
For some guys, yeah.
So did you ever develop a relationship with some of these kind of the central figures in Unopened? Such as Fritch or Steve Hart, or how long have you been?
Actually, okay, that's a good question, because I do have a story about that, and I'm surprised you brought that up. I was going to bring it up. So actually, when I was in Chicago, Steve Hart at the time was in right by the border of Illinois and Chicago, Illinois and Indiana. He was in Illinois at the time, and he was on eBay. So I think I had bought some stuff from him on eBay and said, hey, I see you're local. Can I pick it up and save us both some money on this? And he said, yeah, sure. So I go to his warehouse, and this is I'd say around 20 years ago, maybe say 20 years ago, roughly. And I go to this warehouse, and it's basically Steve and this guy Mike, and that was it. And so I buy some stuff from him, and I say, hey, what else do you have? And he takes me around his warehouse back then, which was pretty impressive back then. It was a nice sized warehouse. Probably nothing like what he has now. I don't know what he has now, but anyway, back then it was still a pretty impressive warehouse, especially for a guy who loves unopened stuff. And he said, yeah, just go take a look around. So I'm there just wandering around his warehouse, picking out stuff I wanted. And, I bring it back into his office, and he says, okay, blah, blah, blah. And we just come up with a deal. And so from that, I guess I contacted him again and said, hey, can I stop by again and pick up some stuff? I basically bypassed eBay at that point. And he said, yeah, sure. So I would rent. This time I got smart, and I rented a van, and I would go and just, he said, yeah, just take a look around the warehouse and see what you want. And so I would wander around the warehouse for a while by myself, just picking things out and just pile it up. And we'd come up with a deal, and that's it. I load up the van, pay him a bunch of cash, and had some good stuff, and I'd go turn it over on eBay. So he was selling on eBay, and I'm sure he knew I was going to resell the stuff. But it was nice of him to do that, and just kind of let me wander around, pick out what I want, and we cut some deals that way. I did that multiple times, where I would just go to the warehouse and just pick up a bunch of stuff, and it was fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, and Steve is, I mean, to this day, I'm not surprised to hear that story because he's so accessible. Like for someone as busy as he is, I'm astonished at how quick he
Yeah.
responds to emails. He,
Yeah, he's
he's
like and and when people, make comments about people like him, and I say, I had a different business that I was in for many years. I say the truth is, he hasn't been in business for this many years for no reason. When you're in business that long, you're doing something right. A lot of businesses don't last, and so when you're doing it right, you're in business. And he's been around, I think, 30 something years. So obviously, he's doing something very right. So that's a big pat on the back to him.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, no, I think yeah, 1991. So yeah, 31 years now, something like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
that's a
a long
long
time
time.
to be in business. And
Oh yeah,
if he had a bad reputation, or if he wasn't a good decent person or a good businessman, he wouldn't be in business. So that says a lot about everything. His character, his business.
no, absolutely. And how many orders typically with all of the, because you're still on the hunt for packs now, right? Do you still go out on the weekends and
No, no. So it's not like those days anymore. That was when it was fun. Like I said, you put an ad out there the old-fashioned way, and see what you could find.
sure,
These days, it's a little more like everything has changed a lot. So it's more like through the mail. And I if there's local stuff, I do go pick it up. I'm out of Chicago. I'm back in New Jersey again. And being in this area is nice because this area is so populated that you could drive in any direction and hit a lot of different places. So if there's stuff in Pennsylvania, I'll go pick it up, or somewhere in New Jersey, I'll pick it up, or New York State. I can hit all those places within a few hours. And so some guys do approach me with smaller deals like that, where they'll say, do you want to come and pick it up, or do it in person? Of course, it's if I'll go get it. But it's
sure,
not like I'm hunting every weekend like I used to. I think it's a little tougher these days. I really don't know, but the stuff you will find, it's probably still out there. But I think it's a lot of that junk stuff, and not knocking it because a lot of people love that stuff still. But I'm just not that into '89 Fleer baseball.
sure, sure. Well, it seems like the one thing that's I've noticed that it's challenging to be an unopened, to pursue unopened at card shows, even at
Yes,
the even at the national.
I
I mean,
agree.
it the selection is amazing. I mean, the quality of stuff you see is amazing, but there's just so few dealers. You had a similar experience?
Yeah, I go to local shows here and there, and
Mhm.
I'm not trying to be negative. It's just always a little disappointing though, because there's just not much unopened stuff. And this area, we do have some good shows that are it used to be called the White Plains Show in New York, and the ones in Pennsylvania, they've been around for years. And so they do get a lot of quality dealers, and they're good sized regional shows, but there's just not much there. I mean, I'll go to some of those shows, and I just get a little disappointed because I go there, and I'll drive, and I'll go in there and check it out, and I zip through, and there's just maybe a couple guys with decent stuff, and that's it. And so it's a little disappointing. So I don't really hit up those shows much anymore. I just know there's not much there. It's kind of just out in collections, and collectors kind of are holding on to stuff really. So it's not as easy to dig up the old stuff anymore.
Sure. Well, and it seems honestly, the Facebook group, the Vintage Wax and Packs group that you and I are both in, is some of the stuff that is posted for sale in that group is as incredible as things you'll see, or almost as incredible as some of the auction houses that put up some amazing things. I mean, to me, it's been such a
Yeah.
wonderful resource for
And
not
that
just
and
for that,
going
but for
back a step,
learning. Mhm.
I'm sure you've heard of it. I don't know if you were a part of it. I was, and I wasn't very active in it, but I was there watching. I did some deals here and there. It was called the Collectors Universe. They used to call it the CU Forum or CU Boards or whatever it was. It was, just a message board chat kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, chat room message board thing. And there was stuff going on there. So that was kind of the before the Facebook group got big. It was mostly in the CU boards. And what's the other one that's well known? Net 54. So there's been stuff going on, and I think just as technology has changed, it's gotten more efficient. So you could go in those online groups and used to do buy and sell, and now it's in the Facebook group. It's like to another level. So when I got in the Facebook group, and I think I originally joined there, I want to say over 3 years ago, and I heard about it from the other forums, and it's just grown tremendous. I think when I joined, it was 3,000 people, and now it's 13,000. So it's huge.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I think and it was just maybe 4 months ago we surpassed 10,000. So even
Yeah, yeah,
it's
it's
just,
growing like exponentially now. Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah, no. And I think it's a useful resource for learning about Unopened and learning about how to protect yourself from fraud. It's a very, even if you don't want to buy and sell on there, it's just some of the individuals on there, Mike C and Tim, and
Yeah.
they're just such wonderfully accessible, intelligent people
And
to have.
I've been around long enough to know this too, and a lot of the younger or newer guys who haven't been in Unopened a long time, I hear a lot of people, and I think in the group are kind of a little newer to it, and I kind of, I wish they knew about some of the nuances over the years, like, off the top of my head, like I was talking about Fleer basketball, like 9091, like, just from opening so many packs as a kid, I remember that there was a very, 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 very strong pattern there where you're gonna know what's in the next pack, and you're gonna know how many are in the box, and that's just how they packed their cards back then, Fleer. And so, those Fleer basketball boxes, if they're not from a sealed case, I don't know how you could trust that stuff. I would never trust it, because I know there's guys who could easily pull out the certain packs, and that's it. You won't get those cards in the box. So, and 89 Upper Deck's another one that I don't remember the pattern anymore, but I've heard that, if you know the pattern for the Griffey, you can go in there and pull out the Griffey pack pretty easily. So, you got to be careful with some of the stuff from back then, because even though it for a while was kind of junk, this stuff's been going on for a long time, where people were searching or even resealing, and it's out there.
Sure. Well, and I do think we've seen this premium for the FASC from a sealed case, and to me it's perfectly justified. Some of
Yeah.
the significantly higher prices, such as 84 Donruss. I mean, an FASC box, what is it? Probably $1,500 now, give or take.
Yeah, about, and part of it's the rarity too. Like, for example, you just don't see many 84 Donruss cases, so that has a lot to do with it too. I mean, even just going way back, 84 Donruss was always expensive, and it
Mhm.
was always tougher to find. And everyone will tell you that, who remembers the 80s, that it was always a tough one to find.
Sure, sure.
I
Well,
honestly don't even remember Donruss and Fleer being like mass market till a few years later, I think, I want to say, because it just Tops was always everywhere. They were a candy company too, so they were always in every place that had Tops candy had the baseball cards. But Donruss and Fleer didn't have that same distribution, as far as I know. So basically, I think Fleer had the candy, but Donruss not really. And so you could see that stuff was harder to find back then. And most people don't really remember that, but Fleer and Donruss wasn't that easy to find until maybe the late 80s, I want to say.
sure. Well, and even it seems some of the rack packs, like 83 Donruss cello racks, right? They're non-existent, at least I mean, in the ones that exist are being hoarded.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess they just didn't make that many. I really don't know, because they had those 82 wax pack racks. So I
mhm.
don't know why. I don't know. Maybe they were trying them out and they just didn't sell well, because if you remember back then, and you could see from those the fun bags that they sold, they had a lot of inventory just sitting around, if they were making those fun bags and dumping stuff for a few bucks, for a whole bag of packs. So basically, it looks like, from that kind of stuff, that Donruss and Fleer, or Donruss mostly, I guess, had a lot of leftovers.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, yeah, and I think 83 Donruss they did wax racks, and then I guess in 84 they didn't do them. They just did the regular cello racks.
Yeah,
But that'd be a cool item if there was an 84 Donruss wax rack, given all the fact that it's basically FASC, because there's no way to search
yeah,
wax racks. I think that's part of the reason we've seen such a exponential price increase in trays, like 78 Tops baseball trays.
yeah.
It's because people have realized there's no way to search these.
Yeah, and if you
Um,
think about it, if you get one that's wrapped by BBC, it's basically triple sealed, because the wax pack was sealed, the tray is overwrapped with the old cellophane, and then Steve overwraps everything with his wrap. I mean, it's like a triple guarantee on that thing.
yeah, yeah, that's pretty awesome. And so, well, do you have any other fun stories you want to share about
Oh, let's
your?
see. There's always stories from back in the old days.
Sure.
Let's see. Another one was, I went to a guy in New Jersey here. I was actually living in Chicago doing the cards, and he contacted me from New Jersey, and he said, "Hey, I got these storage units." And he said, I bought out so and so's shop. And I kind of remember the shop. It was an old time shop that was around for years. And he said, I got a lot of good stuff. I said, okay, let's see. So, I meet this guy at these storage units, and I knew him. We did stuff before. I knew he knew what he was doing. He rolls up the door, bam. And then he goes to the one next over, rolls up another door. And these are big ones. These are not the tiny storage units. They were almost a 2-car garage size. So he's got 2 of these storage units, and I go in there and I go, oh my God, and it was nothing fabulous, but it was, to see the massive amount of 84 tops cases and, 85 and 86, 87, a lot of that stuff. It was really heavy in the mid 80s. And it was a dealer who had just stockpiled the stuff and just saved it for rainy day, one of those guys. And he fought this guy who acquired it finally, wore the guy down, and he sold it to him. And it was a lot of stuff. And I got kind of first dibs on it because I had known about it ahead of time. And so I go in there and just, give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that, and cases and cases of just, decent stuff. It was fun. It was fun to see it. Like I said, all that stuff too, because, it was just a giant hoard. That was one of the better ones. And then I guess along the same lines, I'll switch gears a little. The same guy, he was in New Jersey, and he would always come up with some good stuff. And one time, he comes up with 78, I think it was 78 Burger King Yankees cellos. I think that's what it was. And they were the 3-card packs that were giveaways, I guess. And he said, I got a few of these. I think he sent me like, I want to say 20 boxes of those things. And, they were almost worthless at the time. And, I was just putting them on eBay for, I forget, such a low amount. I would say 25, 30, 40 bucks, whatever they were. And now they're probably worth more. And I don't even know what those are worth at this point, because I don't follow those. But anyway, he came up with like 20 boxes. I said, wow, this is from the 70s. I don't know where he found them. Just cases of these things. And then another time, the same guy, he would always come up with crazy stuff. He came up with a pallet of 91 Top Stadium Club baseball miswraps, first series. I don't even know where he got this stuff, but I said, I'll take it. He came up with a good price. He ships me a pallet of these things to Chicago. And the truck drives up, drops the lift gate, rolls them in the garage, and now I have a pallet of 91 Stadium Club miswraps. And I loved those cards. I really did. But I sold them all. It was just put them on eBay and figured it out. And the price was right. So just weird stuff like that. Now let me go into one more. This was from a local guy in Chicago, and he tipped me off about a pretty good one. It was a grocery store owner who invested in cards all through the 80s, and he didn't care about the cards. He was an older guy, and he really bought them because in the 80s cards were hot, so it was an investment. So he really just bought them from his distributors here and there, and just stuck them in a storage unit. And I kid you not, I lived in the middle of the city of Chicago, and he gives me the address, and I said, that's around the block, and this is like, it's like the middle of Chicago. It's a busy area. I said, where could these cards be hidden? There was no warehouses. So he meets me in front of a parking garage, a parking garage underneath the high-rise building. And he takes me into the parking garage. I'm thinking, where are these things going to be? And I would have no idea this place was even there. And in the parking garage, off to the side, there's a door. It just looks like a closet. I walk in and I almost had a heart attack. The guy has like cases and cases and cases of just everything from the 80s. And I said, it was amazing. I went there honestly with a few $1,000s in my pocket, thinking like this guy's going to have a few cases. And it turns out he's got like a gigantic hoard, just stacks of cases of everything. And I still remember and it was okay stuff at the time. It was like 83 Fleer and Donruss, a lot of 84, and all the way up to like early, like 90, 92, some of the better basketball. And, he wasn't just junk. And so, I go in there and picking through this stuff, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm embarrassed to even take the money out, because there's no way we're doing a deal with this money that I have on me. I had no idea what to expect. And we talk it over, we go back and forth. And at the end, he said, I've been holding this stuff for years. I'm just going to keep holding it. I don't need to sell it. And he didn't. He had successful businesses in Chicago. He was a grocery store owner. He didn't need to sell it, and he didn't want to. And at the end, he said, I'm just going to hold it. So end of the story, though, 10 years later, when I was not into cards, not doing much of cards, I was preoccupied with my other business and I was very busy at the time. And I get this phone call and he says, "Hey, this is Mel." I said, "Mel?" And he said, and he told me who he was, what business. And I said, "Oh my gosh, with the baseball cards in the storage unit underneath the garage." And he says, "Yeah, I'm ready to sell now." And I said, "I'm not buying cards anymore. Let me forward you to Steve Hart." And that's what I did. And
Oh,
so
okay.
I passed it on to Steve. I don't know if Steve ever got the deal or not, but anyway, I passed it on to Steve. At the time, I wasn't buying and selling cards. I was too busy. But yeah, it was amazing stuff. And that was probably one of the better ones I've seen. I was shocked at what this guy had, and he didn't even care about the cards, just
That,
just to have them.
that's interesting. And the fact that he would take you there and show you and then say, I don't want to sell any of this stuff. That's kind of interesting. I guess he just wanted you to see
Just
it.
didn't want to do anything. He was thinking about it, but he was so undecided. And there's a lot, and I guess I should say this: there's a lot of guys like that, and to this day, collectibles are very, very different business where there's guys that are like that. And I've said this about collectibles, and it's a little backwards. It's almost the more you want their stuff, the more they either want more money or don't want to sell it. It's a little odd. But he was kind of that way where I said I was interested. I said let's work out a deal, and he just said, "Nah, I'm just gonna wait." And obviously he waited roughly, I don't know, 10 years to think about it because he called me again. And so that was an interesting twist on that one.
Yeah, no, that's well, I mean, maybe Steve got a deal out of it. That's pretty cool.
I mean, the
Yeah,
guy was getting pretty old, so either Steve bought it or it's sitting there still, and someone took it over. But I don't know what he did with it. It would be interesting to know, but who knows?
sure. Well, I wanted to give you the chance because you've got some pretty awesome items, unopened items. Would you care to show some items that you currently own?
Yeah. So basically, I do sell packs and boxes on my website,
Uh-huh,
thepackguy.com. But
uh-huh,
that's the stuff I'm selling, and
uh-huh.
I do kind of hold some stuff back, of course, like everybody does. We all buy some, we sell some, we hold some, and the stuff I hold is kind of odds and ends, and it's not really anything too crazy. Honestly, I made the mistake of selling off a lot of really good stuff in early 2020 before the pandemic boom, which was a big
Mm,
mistake. But we all have these stories of selling too soon, and
sure.
I was holding on to some really nice stuff that I happened to be honest with you, I took them to like I said, the White Plains, New York show at the time, and Steve Hart's buyer was there, Phil. And I was actually just going to drop off a bunch of stuff to get it wrapped. And I go over there and I drop it off with Phil. And then I said, hey, you know, make me an offer on this stuff. Let's just see what comes up. I said, do you have the money on you? Can you do a deal like this? And he said, yeah, I think I can. Yeah, yeah. And so he tallies it up. I go back and I said, what do you think? And he gives me a number, and I said, I obviously didn't really want to sell this stuff, and I wasn't thinking about it. And my only plan was really just to have him wrap it. And I said, give me the cash. And so I sold off a bunch of really good stuff at the exact wrong time in early 2020. So anyway, the stuff I hold now is kind of all over the place, but I'll just show you some odds and ends that I
Sure.
have. And
Well,
let's see if I can get this one. Okay, this is a 72 tops football wax pack, and the reason I like this one mostly is just the fact that I just love the wrapper art. Sorry about the glare there; it's a little
that's
better.
fine.
I love the wrapper art on these, and these come in different colors too. So I just really love the wrapper art on these packs. That's the one reason this is one of my favorites. Um,
That's beautiful.
this one's my favorite, and I've had a few of these 84 Fleer Mattingly packs. I'm still holding this one for my personal collection just because basically the 84 Fleer set was one of my favorite sets as a kid, and I had it as a kid, and I was always just loved having that set. And so when I saw these packs pop up here and there, I always just grab them because it was my set, my cards from when I was a kid. So basically, I always wanted to have that pack. And then when I got a hold of a few of them, I've always kept at least one of those.
Sure.
This one is one I have for sale, and I've had it for sale for a little while now. But I just love this pack. Let me see if I can get in the shot there. It's a
Sure.
Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver. Let me see. I'm trying to avoid light.
Sure.
There we
Sure.
go. Nolan Ryan, Tom Seaver on the top of 82 tops rack. And I love the double star combos, really.
Oh yeah.
Um I'm holding on to this just because it was one of my favorites at the time as a kid too. 91 Stadium Club First Series. This is from a sealed case, which is nice, but just for the memory that this was like one of my favorites when that came out. That was like a game changer, and basically, I just love those cards.
Well,
This
you
one I'm
mentioned.
holding on to just because. Yeah, go
Oh
ahead.
yeah. Oh no. Well, you had mentioned earlier that there were miswrap 91s. Can you explain? I'd actually never heard that. What was the error on them?
Just the wrappers were a mess. They were not sealed properly. They might be wrapped. Like for example, the wrappers should be centered. And you could see the graphic should be centered and wrapped. The folds on the back nice, and
Mm-hmm.
the graphics were all over the place. You could see they just would probably get jammed in the machine or something, or the back seals were kind of mangled, that kind of thing. They were just ugly looking packs. But you would open them and the cards were fine. I guess they were just rejects off the line. And I don't know where this guy came up with them, but he had just boxes and boxes, and it obviously, like I said, honestly came out to be like a pallet load of them. So it
That's
was it
crazy.
was pretty cool. But yeah, I've always loved 91 Stadium Club, and I still have my old uncut sheets from when I held them as a kid. I still have those Stadium Club sheets.
That's awesome.
This one is let me see if I could do it a little better. Okay, that's an 82 Topps rack with Ripken.
Yep. Oh yeah.
But if you could see, the key
Yep.
there is that that header. It's got the light's in the way. The cardboard header.
Yep.
So that's a big deal. So those are hard to come by. I picked it up at the National this year actually, and someone wanted to buy it for me immediately, and I said no, I'm gonna hang on to that one. This is another one that I think is on my website for sale, but I just love it because again, it's got the two huge stars on it. It's got the Brett and the Henderson there,
That
and everyone
that
loves Ricky, and I think that's just a great looking Ricky Henderson card.
that is my
So that's a
favorite Ricky
really cool
Henderson
pack.
card. Yeah, that is such
Yeah,
an
it's just
awesome
the
image.
pose. He's ready to take off. It's just a cool one, and especially with the two big stars, I really love that pack. But I'm pretty sure that's on the website. I think I'm letting that one go. This is another one, childhood memory type pack that,
Uh-huh.
and I've said this in the Facebook group before. That was my poor man's rookie. I couldn't afford the 80 tops, so basically I always had the 81. I had singles, and I always had a few of those as a kid, and I loved the fact that I at least got the 81 because I couldn't get the 80. And so when I came across this pack, someone in the group sold to me at a real nice price. I said I have to have it, and I'm just going to keep that for myself because it's the 81 card on top there. Let's see. Living in Chicago for a long time, and the fact that he was a huge legend. Here is the 82 Topps football with Peyton on top, and I like that one for two reasons. Obviously, it's the Peyton on top, and I just love the. Let me see if I can get the design of the 82 Topps cars. I just love that little helmet. I don't know, and the flag thing. It's just always been a cool design to me of the card, and then the fact that the Peyton's on top. So that one stays with me. Let's see. Here's one more. We got to show this, of course. I just actually picked this one up on eBay. I put a bid in and honestly didn't think I would get it, but I did get it. And it's a
Oh,
75 Topps rack with Tony Perez on top.
oh wow.
And I don't know if there was somebody on the back. Let me see. Oh yeah, George Foster on the back. I guess you probably can't really see that, but anyway,
Okay.
George Foster on the back.
Wow.
But everybody loves the 75 Topps rack, so here it is. And it's got the
Oh,
Perez right there.
that
So that's
is
a
such.
really
Yeah.
cool pack, and you just can't go wrong with 75. You really can't.
No, you can't.
So
Yeah.
that's a few. Like I said, I hold on to weird stuff for myself. And it's mostly as a lot of us stuff that we remember as a kid, or there's a meaning behind it, or the background. So that's kind of why I have some of those packs. They're not the most rare, they're not the most valuable, but to me they have a meaning behind them.
Sure. Sure. And I will say, Jason's website, thepackguy.com, has some awesome stuff. So if you are looking to get into Unopened and you're looking to pick up some nice quality items, his website is a fantastic place to start.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks.
No, yes, very, very easy to access too, which is nice. So not all
Yeah,
websites.
and I'm buying. So I'm obviously buying so much stuff to have some cool stuff on there. So I'm always buying and buying and buying, and honestly, probably a little too much these days. But that's part of the fun of this whole thing is to find the stuff, to acquire it, and then some of it goes on the website. And like I said, some of the odds and ends and weird stuff I hold back.
Sure, sure. Yeah, no, I think, yeah, like you said it best, we all have some items. Yeah, we can move this. I'll move this. Maybe I can use the money from that to buy, something that I actually want to keep for myself. I think that's part of the fun is the wheeling and dealing. And you and I have done cash trade combos before and things.
Yeah, yeah. And
It's fun.
like I said, that's a fun part,
Yeah,
the wheeling and dealing, and also the finding this cool stuff, because it's out there. And I always keep saying this. And that's another thing that I wish, and maybe this is a podcast for you for another time. It's
sure.
out there, this stuff, and it's hard to find, but it's out there, and I think there's still a decent amount of it. We just have to dig it up and find it. And I've heard stories about guys who have barns of this and warehouses of that, and this guy's got a storage in his backyard, or one of those big shipping containers. And I just some guy I met recently for a deal. He met up with me in person here in New Jersey, and he said, hey, there's this guy in New Jersey I buy from here and there. And he said, but he won't sell his stuff. And I said, what do you mean? He said, he's one of those hoarder types where he doesn't want to let it go. He said, the guy's got amazing stuff, he needs the money, but he won't sell it. And I said, you got to get some of it out of his hands, pry some away. And he said, he knows what he has and he just doesn't want to let it go. And I said, that's unfortunate, because some of the stuff he was describing, it'd be cool to see it come out. He was talking about stuff like really good stuff, like 81 Tops football rack cases. And he said the guy's got 4 of them or something like that. And I said, why won't he let one go here and there? He said, he just doesn't want to let it go. And he said, there's just cases and cases this guy has in those big, he said he has 2 tractor trailer type shipping container things, in his backyard. Or he's in the country somewhere in New Jersey. And he said he just doesn't let it go. And I said, you got to get some of that stuff out of there. He said, every once in a while he gets one item here and there. He said, but he's one of those guys that just doesn't sell it. So we know
Wow.
it's out there. It's just, we got to dig it up, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
And sometimes, get the people to agree to sell it.
Yes, yes, I think that's the big part of it. Yeah, some of the stories, what Steve Hart has said, where I guess it was 2 complete boxes of 59 or 58 Tops football that came into the baseball card exchange shop like 5 years ago or something. Just someone random just had it in their attic and brought it into the store. And
That's a real rare one. That is, yeah. When you
yeah,
hear that kind of
yeah.
stuff.
But I'm sure there are still those
Oh
amazing
yeah.
items out there. Yeah, no, it's
I
definitely
think, my opinion, I think there's enough 80s stuff out there really where it's hiding out there, and it's still stockpiled. I think, it's getting more and more rare every year, because, some of it does sell, it does get opened or whatever, but it's out there, and we just have to find it. And in this part of the country, especially the Northeast, where, Tops was in Eastern Pennsylvania, Fleer was in Philly, um, and then they were in New Jersey at one point in time. So those companies were all in this area. So I think this stuff is hiding out in some of these places, but getting it to come to the surface is hard sometimes. Just have to keep at it, I guess. But yeah, that's part of the fun, and I'm always hoping for that massive horde to come my way, or somebody to tip me off, or someone say, hey, let's split a deal, or let's see if we can get this deal or whatever. I always have feelers out with a bunch of guys. So if it comes up, it comes up. If it comes up. There was one guy recently here in New Jersey who, he's one of the guys who I always tell him, I'm always looking for Unopened if you come across it. And he called me, and I kid you not, it was 5 minutes from my house. He said, I got a warehouse full of stuff. And I said, great, I'll be right there. And I couldn't believe how close it was. Literally 5 minutes away. I go and I said, okay, where's the stuff? So he takes me in this warehouse, and it's an big old warehouse, and we go up a few stories and everything. And I just start seeing pallets and pallets and pallets of 5,000 count boxes of commons. And I said, so where's the unopened stuff? And it was a mess. It was honestly like a disaster area of just all kinds of collectible sports stuff. It was cards, but it was all kinds of a mixture of stuff. And he starts saying, it's in here. And I started digging through. I said, I'm seeing a few 89 Tops rack packs and a few 88 jumbo packs, and a few scattered upper deck packs here and there, and a few team set bags from the early 90s. And I said, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not into this stuff, but he did have, and I'm not kidding you, I don't know how many pallets. I'd say 50 plus pallets of just 5,000 count boxes. I don't know where this stuff comes from. So it's odd, but it's out there.
Sure, sure. Probably 1991 Fleer or product like that where it's
Yeah, actually, it was stuff like that because I remember opening a box and I think it was like something like that, like really, really just the garbage of the garbage.
sure,
So
sure.
it's out there.
Well, the only way to know is to go and check it out. I mean, but yeah, that's pretty funny. Well, Jason, well, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and talk and share some fun stories. And
Yeah,
it's
it's always fun to talk about this stuff. It really is. We message back and forth, a lot of us on Facebook here and there or email, but it's always good to talk about this stuff and tell some of the stories because you don't hear all the stories. So I love hearing stories and I never tell my stories, so it's fun to get this stuff out there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah. Well, thanks again. And again, everybody check out his website. Awesome resource and some really, really amazing packs. And it's always fun to talk on open. So thanks again, Jason. And until
Thanks,
next
I
time,
appreciate it. Yeah, it's always great talking about this stuff. We have a lot of fun, and it's always fun to go back and forth. And definitely looking forward to more of your podcasts and more of your videos with more stories.
oh, thanks. Thanks. Till next time, everybody, take care of each other. Keep collecting vintage unopened baseball.